Hey guys, so I wanted to jump on. I'm working on this project today, and this is all maple, and I'm getting ready to go through and start the staining process. And this is one of the things I wanted to discuss because I think this is why people struggle so much in the staining process. These doors came brand new from the manufacturer, pre-hung, ready for us to stain. And when I got them in the shop, the first thing I noticed was they were very smooth, which in some cases can be good, but in some cases it can be bad. When you're applying stain, if the wood substrate is too smooth, it basically won't allow the stain to absorb into the wood, and maple is notorious for this. Maple is probably one of the hardest woods to stain. Today we're running some Renner water-based spray stain, which does help the situation. But I figure while I'm here, let me do this quick little video just to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight. So what I did is I went back and I prepared all these doors for stain by going through and sanding them with 180 grit sandpaper. Now, I don't want to sand them super aggressively, but I do want to sand them aggressively enough that I pop the grain open and allow for that stain to penetrate. I had a couple little scars and a couple little dents in the wood. How we treated those was I put a damp cloth on them, left it there for about 10 minutes, pulled it off. The wood swelled back up. I was able to sand it again and then had no problem. Some guys, what they'll do to help to eliminate inconsistency in stain is they will actually grain pop it with water. So they'll take a little spray bottle, spritz it, it pops all the grain up first, and then they'll go back and sand it, and then when they apply their stain, they get a real nice even consistency. In this case, these doors were in pretty good shape. I felt pretty confident that I could just go through and sand these all with a 180 grit sandpaper and get them all ready for me applying my spray stain. So I did a little sample here, and I sanded this with 180 grit, and then I went to 220 grit. And most people would think 220 grit is perfect for stain grade. Well, in some wood instances, it might be. So if you were using a softer wood, say Doug fir, alder, something like that that's a little bit more porous, or pine, I think 220 might be an okay option. For hardwoods like maple or oak or any hickory or any of these other type of hardwoods, I think 180 is pretty about the finest that you want to go. I know some guys will even say that they go 120 or 180, 150 grit. I feel like 180 is kind of right, a good mix for what we do. It doesn't make a lot of swirl scratch and allows the stain to penetrate pretty evenly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my gun up real quick, and I'm gonna spray the samples, these two samples side by side, and you're gonna kind of be able to see the difference. Now, you're seeing it the same time I'm seeing it. So what happens is what happens. I didn't do a pre-sample. I'm doing this all just off the cuff, but it just came to my mind that, you know what, this would be a great video to make for people to see. Okay, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna pause for a second, and I'm gonna get my gun set up. So before I even do that, so this is the gun that I'm using. This is a Total Finishing Solutions CADX gun. I do not have the PPS set up. I don't need it for this light stain, and I'm spraying it out of a 1.0 tip. I always use a water separator. I always like to put those on there to help to keep any water out of the line for when we're running any other materials. So, okay, so give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna apply my stain very lightly, and I'm just gonna show you. So I always like to just apply one light coat, okay? One light coat. So the first thing that I notice is that on my sample on the left, I immediately got a little bit more pooling. Okay, so now I'm gonna apply my second coat. It's set up, and then I'm gonna apply my second coat. And for me, right off the bat, I can see that my right sample is about 10% darker than my left sample. The second thing I noticed is I got a lot more pooling on my left sample than I did on the right sample. I can see that it's standing up on the surface really good, and this one is actually soaking into the wood a lot better. Consistency wise, they're still pretty similar, I would say, but I can definitely say that this one has taken the stain quite a bit better than the sample on the left. And with spray stains, it's a little easier because they are a little more consistent. When you're going to run into issues is when you're running more of a wiping stain. You're really going to see the difference in how it penetrates. But I wanted to jump on here and kind of show this to people. And mind you, okay, this is 220 and that's 180. So you would think they're not that far off, but when you actually see the way they pull the stain in, you can see how this right sample has really just taken it like a sponge and absorbed it. And this one here, I almost feel like it stayed on the surface and it's considerably lighter. So hopefully this video helps you guys in the future. I'm gonna seal coat these and clear coat them. I'll post them later on some of my other forums, but hopefully you guys get an idea that don't be so concerned about making your wood super smooth when you're applying stain. It's always good to open that grain up so that it allows for the stain to penetrate and for it to get in the wood and show its natural color. So hopefully this video helps out, and we'll see you guys on the next one.